Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today we are going into deep space on a ship piloted by artificial intelligence. This is Black Angel. In Black Angel, each player represents a different AI that is helping to run the Black Angel, doing tasks on the ship, sending out probes into neighboring systems, and dealing with Ravagers that are attracted to all of our activity and attacking the Black Angel itself. So we are going to go ahead and take a look at this. It's a fairly complex game. There's quite a bit going on in this big box, but I'm going to give you a quick overview, hopefully, and then we'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you what I think of it. Alright, I'm going to try to do this as briefly as I can. The game is going to have, for each player, 3 main surfaces they have to concern themselves with. The central board here with dice, workers, robots, locations to place their dice, score track, all that jazz. And this is a close-up view of the control center of the Black Angel. The space board, which is going to show you, well, space, different locations around where the Black Angel itself is, and you'll be able to play cards out here to these different spots, like that. Make victory points, take actions, all that jazz. When the Black Angel advances, then we're going to take the back tile here, we'll flip it, and we'll put it at the front, and therefore, space has moved along. We leave some behind, we find some new things ahead of us, all right? Finally, here are the players' boards with some tile locations, places to hold your resources at the top, and you'll also, of course, have a hand of cards. This gives you also a little breakdown as to the things you can do. Over here, a scoring section for these black-backed tiles to score victory points at the end of the game. So let's go to the main board, and I'll explain the general flow of the whole thing. On your turn in the game, you are going to do one of two things. You're either going to do sequence A or sequence B. You'll usually do sequence A. B is sort of a reset sequence, so to get you ready again to start doing this a bunch of times. So let's go over sequence A first. The first thing you're going to do is you may play a card around your player board at one of these locations on the outside to activate all the tiles in that line that match the color you played. If I play a yellow card and I play it over here, I'm going to activate that tile. If it's like this and I play a card there, it's still only the yellow one that activates, all right? If I play a red card, it activates everything. The color won't matter. Step 2, I will perform an action with a die. I have my own little section. Let's say I'm playing this dark red. This is my own little section marked by this token. I'm going to take a die. I'm going to place it in one of the locations for that die. All right, I'll go over those in just 1 second. Step 3, I'm going to draw a card of the color matching the die I just used. That's pretty much it, all right? So, the dice placement. When I go to place a die, I can either take one of my own or I can buy someone else's die, and I give them a gem for that, one of these clear ones. All right, they would get that from me, assuming I have one to give. And then I'm going to place the die. There are 2 locations for the yellow dice, 2 for the gray, 2 for the green. One of them in each section is the exact same. This one, all about moving around in space and sending out little expeditions. The other 3 are different, and they are as follows. This one here lets you remove damage cubes that are on the board that are going to hinder your progress on the board. This one here gets rid of the Ravagers. They also hinder your progress on this board. This card also goes into your hand, and you may use it to activate tiles on your personal board. And then this one over here in yellow lets you buy these tiles, which are little bonuses and then scoring opportunities at the bottom. Things like, hey, for every red cube you have, which is debris, you're going to get 2 victory points at the end of the game. So that's what those are. Once you are done activating one of those dice, let's say I bought this from the pink player, I buy that, I put it here, I activate it. Since I, wait, that's green, so hold on, that one. I did that, I activate it, there's a Ravager there, so I'm going to have to deal with some bad stuff. Once it's done, and I bought some of these tiles, the costs being dependent on the pips, then it goes in that area, and I'm done. During all this, you'll do, like I said, removal of some bad things, buying these tiles, moving around on the space board. I'll come back to that board and show you how that one works. And Once you're out of dice, or you simply want to reset or don't want to buy someone else's, then you do that sequence B. So here's sequence B, okay? Let's say these are all spent. I've already used them. The first thing I do is I'm going to figure out if I have any dice here, and they go away to their respective holding spots. I lose victory points on the track equal to the number of pips that were showing. You don't normally want to do this if you have hit pips showing, but if I had a single one, I might lose the point just to give myself a new pool of dice. After that, I re-roll my dice. I check my robots in these areas. Tell me how many dice I rolled. So let's say I already had 2 in here and I had 2 in there. Then when I gather my new dice, I'm going to get 2 yellow, I'm going to get 1 gray, I'm going to get 2 green because of my robots. I roll these, I place them in my area. I may also spend a gem and lock 1 die if I want this one not to be purchasable by the other players. After that, I'm going to reset my board. All the cards that would be lying here around the outside, they go away. All the cubes, these debris cubes, go up here. And that's ready now to be reactivated, all the places with new cards and all that. And then lastly, I'm going to advance the Black Angel on that board. Like I said, the cards at the back of the line might fall off and trigger things, and we move up that strip of terrain or space to the front of the ship. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take a turn using that sequence A, the usual thing. So first thing I can do is I can play one of my cards to this board to activate it. I'm going to put that green one there. I got a new robot, or I move one robot around in the control center. That's how I can get more dice later on. But let's say I just get a new robot. So I would get one and put it in that break room in the center circle. And then with this, I get a victory point. So I just keep that on the track. This I do not activate because the card is green. Next up, I pick a die and I activate that die. Let's say this is one of my own. It's a 3 in yellow. And I'm going to put it in that flying action that I said is in every color, okay? So I put it over there on the board in the correct spot. And that means I can either move a ship, one of my own, that's already on the board, or deploy a new one. Thankfully, I've got one here, so I would get one of my robots from the break room, slot it into the little cute little flying space, and he can fly up to 3 spaces, okay? Because that's what the die says. I cannot go through these red, broken up asteroid spaces. And I can go 1, 2, let's say. Let's say I'm wasting 1 of the pips. I can fly up to 3. Once I arrive there, if I want to, I can play a card of the color that matches the die and the location. And I'm going to go ahead and do so. I'm going to play that card there. And I take another one of my robots from the break room. And I put it right there to mark that that card is mine. This ship is docked at that card. That card is mine. It tells me below where I put this little guy that I get 2 victory points. So I'll go ahead and take those. And this is a location that 2 ships, like I said, could be docked at. So somebody else could go there to activate that card. Another thing you can do with dice is you can take a die. Let's say, again, that yellow 3. Somebody else has a yellow 3. On their turn, if they are docked at this location, they can spend a die there to do whatever this card says 3 times because of 3 pips, or maybe 1 time if they play a 1 pip on here. The stars are zeros, by the way, but there is something you can do in the game to flip a die to its opposite side. So there you go. And this is going to get me 1 ship and 1 of those gems that lets me buy dice from other people or lock them when I re-roll dice. So this is going to stay out there. Later on I can fly this little ship away. Not through here, but I could fly, say, here and here. If I did that with a green 2, I could play a green card there. But something else happens before I finish all this. 2 things. First thing, new Ravagers show up based on these little symbols around the card I just added. There's a single one, so I just draw one from the deck, and it tells me where it goes on the main board, and I put this out in a little damage cube near it. If there are 2 damage cubes in the same location, by the way, any die you add there is discounted by 1 pip. So they're not as effective unless you start clearing the board. So I would do that, and then the next thing that happens is this adds two tiles, 2 of those upgrade tiles over here on the main board. So I would just take the appropriate colors, 1 yellow, 1 gray, and push these up and slot them in right there so that players can buy them. And that's it for my turn. Once that's done, I'm going to draw 1 yellow card from the deck, and I'm going to add that to my hand because of the colored die I used, which was yellow. Then I clear it off. It goes to where the yellow dice are being held, and that's my turn. So this is going to populate with a few different things. There are two kinds of these cards. This one that can be activated with a die, and then these that activate when they fall off the track, meaning, at the back of the ship back there. They fall off into space, if you would. And this one is going to give me something if I own the card by having my robot there, in this case 3 ships. And then anyone who is docked there gets this side, which is 3 victory points. All right? And again, that happens when the card completely leaves the board. Once that's done, let's say this leaves the board, we deal with what the players get, and then I take this card and I slide it under here, add it to that section on the side. What is that for? Well, that's for scoring. Like I said that these tiles, these black tiles, give you victory points during the, or at the end rather, of the game. This one for tiles that were ejected. This one for blue tiles or gray tiles in your display, and so on. When you buy one of these, you push them in. This is true for all the tiles. So let's say I buy this yellow tile. I could push it in here, and it'll slide everything up, and this one slides off the top, and I just set it aside. If I do one of the black ones, then it has to come into this corner, so I would just slide it in there. And then later on, let's say I buy another one, and I slide it in there, and then later on I just buy any old tile, and I slide it in, like so. And eventually, you do this enough, and these tiles are going to fall off, these black ones. When that happens, you're going to take it and put it in one of these 3 spots over here. And at the end of the game, you're going to get victory points up to a maximum of 4. So, for example, 2 points for each ejected tile. Well, I've done it twice. That's 4 points, okay? However, if I've ejected 3 tiles, I only score a maximum of 4, unless this is somewhere that has cards tucked under it. And for each card tucked under it, it's going to allow me to score 1 more instance. So 6 points. If I do another one, I could score up to 8 points, and so on. The ones still in the grid do score, but only up to 4 points. It's only these along the side that have the possibility for more than that. So that's basically it. Fill these out, send out your little missions, manage your robots. You're going to want to generate more of those because they will run out. You want to be timely with when you do things. You want to make sure you're grabbing these scoring tiles. And eventually, this little token right here at the front of the track is going to cycle all the way through and then be on the last tile, which flips over and comes to the front. And then we put the planet we are trying to reach in front of us. Once the Black Angel finally gets to it, we'll play one final round, game is over. Or it's possible that the Ravagers are going to run out, this deck of baddies. That also would trigger the end of the game. You're going to score up some victory points at the end, differently, depending on whether you reach the planet or the Ravager deck ran out. And then you figure out who has the most victory points. That player is going to be the winner of the game. So there you go. That's a general idea of all the interlocking mechanisms in the game and how everything works. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you my final thoughts on the game. All right, there it is, Black Angel. Let's dive into it, all right? Overall, this is an impressive production. It's got a lot going on in it. It's well finalized. It's very, very apparent that a lot of care and time went into this box. Everything is well written. The whole thing is just really well laid out. So let's go ahead, like I said, and dive into it. So we're going to start with the thematic ties. This has a bit of a strange theme. The idea of the AI, the different sort of, cooperating artificial intelligences dealing with the ship, but we're not cooperating. It's a bit of a stretch, but thankfully, that's the stretchiest part. The rest of it works. All the things we're doing on the ship, the different technologies we're researching and plugging in as upgrades, traveling through space is really neat, sending out missions and things to do. That all works really well. So it is an evocative theme at the end of the day. This idea of this massive vessel traveling through space, taking activities but attracting unwanted attention. So I like it. The aesthetics in the game, it's a very bold look. This game has an attractive look, but again, I think that's subjective. Everything is extremely well made, I will say that. All the cardboard is great, cards are very nice, the bits and bobs are all, well thought out and look good on the table. I especially am a fan of the little ships that you plug a robot into. Those look neat. So it's got a good look, and better than that, it's got fantastic iconography. And it's all over the place, but it works. It's really well thought out. They also give you a lot of player aids. I'll touch on that a little bit later. Replayability. Tons of variables. There's so much going on here. There's a lot of strategy in the game, so you are going to be tackling different things from game to game. And some of the circumstances will push you a little bit this way or that way, which I like that in games. The game also scales really well. There is a solo mode. I'm not highlighting because it's fine. It's just kind of more of the same. You play for 2 players, sort of. And, but 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, it all works well. And the game scales. It uses a small 2-player variant that I found nice and unobtrusive. It's well done, well thought out there. Game length. The game length here feels appropriate to the amount going on. And there's a nice rising tension as you see Spez, which is the name of that planet we are sailing towards, show up in the distance and slowly approach. The tension starts to spike very nicely. Am I going to have enough time to finalize these plans that I've put into play several turns ago? So I enjoy that. I think, again, it's not a short game, but the length here is appropriate to the involvement to be found. Ease of play. Like I said, tons of player aids, and I don't mean handout ones. I mean, it's sort of like all over the place. The small cars you deploy onto space have reminders of what to do on them. The board has a nice reminder of what to do, the player boards. Everything helps you, arrows and sort of flow charts that will enhance the playability of the game by highlighting these little things just as you look over the entire product, So they did a good job with usability in this game. Great ease of play for a complicated game. And then lastly, tactics, strategy, luck. There's a little bit of luck, right? I mean, there is that randomization of dice and a couple of other things, cards you draw, things like that. But this is the kind of luck that feels, to me, like luck for flavor. It can all be justified thematically, and it all helps tell a better story at the end of the day. Strategy here is king. And a good strategy will make whatever luck you've dealt with, in my opinion, be simply part of the mixture and not take over. It's the idea of rewarding something well done instead of succumbing to the luck. That never seems to happen. You're just dealing with some input luck, and then what you do with that, what you output, will be up to you really in the game. So overall, a very impressive game. One that's going to take a play or two to truly come to terms with, to understand, to grasp, to start not just manipulating the system, but manipulating it to your advantage. And once that starts to blossom and you give it the time that it needs, and again, the game does a good job easing you into that, but once you invest that time, you'll be rewarded with a great game, I think. So there you go. My bottom line for Black Angel here is as follows. A large, intricate game that feels like its own creation and will reward clever play. This is going to get an 8 out of 10 for me, and that means it's going to get a seal of approval. I thought it was great. I like it. It's got a great sci-fi theme that feels somewhat unique to what I've seen in the past, and hopefully it will do well. I am impressed. This is not an everyday kind of game for me, but when I feel like playing an epic sci-fi opera sort of theme, this is a good one for that. So there you go. That is Black Angel. Again, seal of approval. Thanks for checking this out, everybody. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.